So today we're going to be talking about differences. Opposites attract, right? So when you're first dating, the thing that Christine used to do that
was so cute,
now is so cute, right?
Annoys you.
But in all realness, sometimes the things that you used to think were so cute and that were so different about each other now are the same things that can cause fights and arguments and kind of put a wedge in you to drive you apart. We have differences that we struggle with, that we still are trying to work through of, is her difference better than mine or vice versa? But in actuality, there is no right or wrong difference. And so no one is better than others. I mean, some things, maybe if it's a negative habit, may be different, but we thought we could maybe throw some tips out there, some things that we use to help our relationship when it comes to differences, and thought maybe you'd benefit from it a little bit as well.
Right. So in the beginning, I used to think that it was so cute that Zach was so go with the flow. Not even cute. I just thought it was so cool. I was so rigid and I wanted everything to be so planned. And I thought, wow, this guy is like lives at the edge of his seat. He can do anything just last minute and it works out for him. Fast forward even 3 years with us being together, that totally irritated me. I'd probably say even sooner than that, because now every single time we wanted to, if you didn't know, we did a long distance relationship for a year, which we will make a video about later, and it was a long distance relationship of 3,000 miles. So we would have to commute back and forth, and he would like to make plans last minute, and I wanted to have him plan ahead of time. And even our vacations now, it's like crazy because I will go nuts on the fact that it will take him up until the month before, maybe even a couple weeks before, maybe even the day before, and even the day of to book a hotel. And I have to really calm my nerves with that.
So like I would always, I would wait towards the end, I would make sure that there was stuff available, that I knew there was 100 hotels still available and that there was no risk of us not having one.
Right.
And so to me, I enjoyed the spontaneity, making sure we got the best deal, making sure we had the stuff. But for Christine, that would stress her out. She was like, where are we going to stay? What are we going to do? And I was like, I got this. We're doing this.
Especially when we had kids.
By acknowledging what our differences were and making a point that this is where we're different, this is where we're similar, and how can we acknowledge these things so we can address them and find ways to work together in that.
Right.
So that's, in that specific example, as if I know there's something that's important to her, then maybe we'll take the time and get a rough plan together, maybe not have it planned out to the detail or the day, the exact day of what we're doing each day of our vacation, but having an idea of what we want to do and a list of that. So that's just a quick example.
Right, and the other thing is that, again, it might not be right versus wrong, it's just the way that you are, so you have to be able to come in the middle somewhere and give some adjustment to the type of personality that each of you are.
Yeah.
I have also a blog, and I did write on this before, and the thing is, I've been able to adapt to this lifestyle of being more last minute. I realize that sometimes when you do allow certain things to be last minute, you're able to come into a lot more opportunity and sometimes a lot cheaper opportunities where you would never have expected. And I will say, side note, I give all of my stress to the Lord when I am dealing with this, because I realize that this might be something that could always stress me out for the rest of my life, but I just give it to God and I'm like, thank you, Lord, that you just worked this out. And I just sit back and I relax. And I have had times where I'm like, I'm just sitting and waiting, because I know if it comes to the last minute and he can't find something, he will figure it out, because he knew he wanted to wait last minute and he will do anything not to be wrong.
And 90% of the time it ended up being better than if we would.
Which is why I just let him go. So if you have someone in the relationship who is like this, sometimes it's okay to let go all of that planned and rigidness and allow that to happen.
And so, we said make a list of your differences and similarities.
Yeah.
With that, you can kind of assign strengths and weaknesses to those as well. So I know that she is super planned, and that's an awesome strength of hers. And she can support me in ways where I'm not, in situations where I need to be planned or where I need that assistance. Or there's many other ways where we're different, but
you're extroverted and I'm introverted.
And there's certain situations where she's awesome at sitting down with a one-on-one, one-on-two, like a small conversation and getting super in depth. Whereas me, I'd rather stand on a stage and talk to a group of people than talk with two other people.
Oh,
And
gosh.
so we have those strengths and weaknesses, and
Yeah.
so there's times where we can take that and help use that to drive us forward.
It's not like we're accepting each other's bad habits or not as great habits. It's trying to be better. And so I can still be clean but know when to turn that off. And he can still be not so precise where everything has to be militant. And we can balance each other out. We can make these both things that are negative to each other a little bit more positive, and it really doesn't need to have that much adjustment. It's just telling the person, okay, that's okay for right now, or this is all right in that moment.
Yeah. Sometimes, like Christine said, you just got to give it to God, right? And so be able to say, all right, I can't change. Don't try to always change the person. I
Yeah.
can't change my spouse. Only God can do that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you can help pray. You can definitely take it to God and pray for them, and you can encourage them, but not to the point where it becomes a nag, because then devil can use that to kind of divide you even further.
Right.
And so I think that's a key point, is making sure that you're bringing all these things to God and that you're working through it. And that's, I think, key. Don't feel like you have to change who you are,
Yes.
but it's about being able to come together and compromise, because I always tell people when we're talking to couples or meeting with people
Yes.
that if my goal in life is to make sure, one, to glorify God, but then to make Christine happy, then she in turn, her goal in life is to glorify God but make me happy.
Right.
Then as a couple we're making each other happy, and that other person can't help but make you happy. And so sometimes I have to put down my pride and say, I really don't want to put my jacket away right now when I walk in the door.
Or
But
take out the trash.
I have no problem taking out the trash, but
Not in my time.
not in her time. Like, the bag's not full yet.
I'm like, it's smelling the whole
But
kitchen.
you really have to put down your pride and say, I know this will make my spouse, my husband, my wife, whoever happy. And so I'm just going to do it. It's going to take 5 minutes of my time, but it will make a big difference to the other person. Another big difference that we used to have, and we still do on occasion, is I like to go out and just be around people. Like she said, I'm more extroverted, so I just want to be around people, involved with action.
And I think it's because you're from a big family.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of 7, so I'm from a large family, and I'm just used to commotion. And so I love to get out and do stuff. And then during the week, I sit at a desk. I'm at work all day, not really doing anything other than my day-to-day job. Whereas she stays home with the kids and is running around all the time and doing tons of stuff. And so because of that, when it gets to the weekend, she'd rather sit at home and relax, because she's running around all week. Whereas me, I wake up first thing in the morning, I'm like, what are we doing? Let's go somewhere.
Yeah.
And so, and that may be you because of that situation. It may be because you like to go out maybe during the week and the person doesn't. So making it a point that you can find those differences and compromise.
Yeah.
And so that used to be something we struggled with a lot. So now we'll talk.
And we would fight a lot about it, actually.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't want to go out. I'm so tired. I don't want to go. I want to just spend time with you. And he's like, we can spend time together out. And there's a lot of couples that we have talked or done mentoring with where it becomes a problem because one wants to stay in, the other wants to go out. And a lot of times
So they go their separate ways.
Right. And that can be really harmful for a relationship.
And it's okay sometimes if you both agree that, okay,
Yes.
I'm going to stay home, you go out and have fun doing whatever, go hang out with your friends, whatever it is. It's okay to have that time.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
when it becomes a habit that all of your fun time or all your stuff is away from your spouse, that's when I think it can start to be a wedge and be cause some division between you as a couple.
Right.
And so I think that's key, is to make sure, and that's one of the ways we dealt with it, is plan out. Back to the planning. So what are the things?
Planning, okay? This is not his personality.
What are the things that you really want to accomplish today? So she would ask me. And we'll make a list. Okay, I need to go to the Home Depot.
You said that. You were ready to say that because we're there all the time.
Yes, we used to be. But I want to go to Home Depot. I need to get this, and that. I want to go to the mall. We got to get this other thing. Whatever it may be, make that list. And she's like, okay, we'll knock those out, and then we can come back home and just spend time together, sitting on the couch.
Watching a movie.
So we all know the things that used to be so cute and that we thought opposites attract, and when we were first dating, and I was like, oh, I love that so much about you.
Yeah.
After years, months, years, decades, whatever it may be, maybe the things that you can't stand about your spouse and that kind of drives you apart. So what are a couple of things that we can do? We can create a list of our strengths, our weaknesses, our differences, our similarities, and use those to come around the similarities and to come around the strengths and to see the strength in the person where they're different and use that in the situation that will help benefit you as a couple and your mission. We talked about having a mission, so use those to benefit your mission.
If you didn't watch that video, link below so that you can see relationship goals,
Yes.
being united and having a mission.
Yes. We can also use those differences and strengths to complement the person for the way that they are different. A lot of times I've heard this said in the past that the thing that most irritates you about the person is the thing that irritates you about yourself. And so maybe you are different in that way, or you wish you were that way. And so in doing so, you may hold a little bit of a grudge, or maybe not that serious, but subconsciously it could be something that kind of makes you wish you were that way, or something along those lines. So you can look for ways to complement your spouse in the ways that they're different, in the ways that you wish you were, and maybe you can strive to be that way. We can know that there is typically no right or wrong. You're not better or worse because you're more organized or I'm less, because you're more punctual and I'm not, because you like a clean house and it doesn't bother me as much. It doesn't mean that you're right or wrong. It just means we're different.
And I just thought about this from another perspective of a mom. When I think of how I'm raising my kids, I don't know how they're going to end up. I don't know if they're going to be really messy, really organized. I don't know. And so I still love them so much no matter how they end up. And it's like I always think about that now that I'm thinking about my kid. I always think about it now in my husband's version. And I'm like, he was a little kid one day, and he had certain things that he grew up with, and that's why he is the way that he is today. And I just want to love him for the fact that it wasn't his fault, or it wasn't my fault that I grew up super organized, or he grew up where it wasn't as important. It's just realizing that it truly is just, you know, who they might be, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's loving them for who they are, because that's just the environment they grew up in.
Well, and part of it, nature versus nurture, is something that because of the environment, and so maybe you being that light and showing them the different way, maybe they over time will see that and come to change. Or maybe it is part of their personality. And like we said, you may not be able to change that, but the person can try to change themselves little bits at a time, or a little bit in ways that doesn't trigger the other person. But you can still be different and still be great. You know, we are so different, but I like to think that we're great together, and I know we are.
We are.
Because God placed us together for a purpose, for a mission, and we can use those differences not as a way to argue, which we do sometimes, but more so capitalize on those differences to propel us forward.
Right. Well said. All right, guys, so thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully you'll be able to take some tips from this and be able to use it in your own life. We love you. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
See you next week.